I think generally speaking, the big changes that happened in my life and career as a result of setbacks ultimately turned into be really good things. Ultimately came to things that actually really shaped an outcome that had I been in my shoes previously prior to that setback, I would have loved to have had that outcome. I would have loved to have got to that point. So I just wasn't aware that I was headed in that direction. So I think in these challenging times, and I appreciate it is stressful and it's difficult, that if things come from left field and it's a real shock, the temptation and the visceral reaction, quite natural, is to be downbeat and to be a little bit, oh my goodness, what's happening type of reactions. But I think in the long run, kind of hold on to the point that actually these tend to be really positive events, because you'll be able to, it'll take you onto you'll either trampoline into another area, or you'll shift gears and you go down a different path. And ultimately you're learning. I mean, this is the whole point of all of it, right? Like building new experiences that are ultimately going to help you down the line. So it's trying to look at it in that big picture way. It's hard. I appreciate it at the time, but for me anyway, my personal experience, and I ultimately would love to have this conversation with my kids, but they won't listen to me at all. But like when you have a setback, you must take it as a learning, and that learning ultimately, if you do, will get you to a place that's further down the line that you will be really a positive outcome for you, and a necessary possibly outcome as well. If you believe in those things happen for a reason type of philosophy, which my mother always reminds me of, by the way, because my mother and I always have these conversations about certain junctures in my career. But she tends to believe that was a necessary path that you go through. But I'm not so sure. I think generally speaking, though, it's just taking that attitude and that learning approach to setbacks, if there are any. And I appreciate it in today's climate, it's a difficult time.
Yeah, but I love the way how you have broken out and that answer, and I want to separate that out to the two elements which I'm hearing. One is that, right, you understand, you acknowledge that this can be tough, like this can be stressful, and that also is natural, right? Doesn't mean that something is wrong with you. That doesn't mean that you don't have the skills, or doesn't mean that you have to be self-judgmental. It's okay to feel stressed. It's okay to feel like out of place in this world. That's one thing, right? That's normalizing this. Because unless we do so, we can get stuck in those like self-critical judgments or that pressure.
That's
and the
right.
second thing is, right, the perspective, right? Rather than seeing this as something happening to you, this could actually be something happening for you, right? For your growth, for your learning. And then how can you make it like a stepping stone rather than a stumbling block? And then also you summed it up very nicely, right? If this is not for learning, then what is this all about, right? In the end, it's all about learning and moving forward. We cannot go backwards. We can only move forward. So these two perspectives, right? One, it's okay to feel scared, stressed, nothing is missing, nothing is wrong, and then you can make it. This could be a learning opportunity. And then in the larger context, right, it's all about moving forward. And that what you shared about your mother, those pieces of wisdom sometimes can help us navigate. And obviously it can be difficult in the short term, but when you go ahead and look back, it all makes sense. So thank you I really appreciate the multifaceted perspective of your answer.
You really summarized that really well. I couldn't agree more with your summary there.